Welcome. I thought I'd do a quick little video. This is a stat that gets talked about a lot in NBA circles, and I just kind of realized yesterday that it doesn't ever really get brought up in the park stuff or as much in baseball. So I thought it'd be interesting to do a little formula. As you can see here, it's lit up in colors on the right side to show the current year salary of each player's and what percentage of a team's budget that is. I can do the same thing for payroll after, but for overall budget, because you can control that entire budget, how much you want to put in payroll and development and all that stuff. So I just thought it'd be interesting to see which players chomped the highest into the teams. If you did it by salary, which they do more so in the NBA, because it's like a salary cap, it's a little easier. Usually, like the top guys, I think get about 35% of the team. Like the supermax is like 35% of the team's salary, but that's different in basketball because there's only 5 players on the court at a time. So in baseball, right? Obviously, you're gonna have like 26 players, and then you're gonna have 40 guys on the 40 man. So the percentages are going to be a little bit lower. So you can see here, this is sorted by the highest in the league. So Adley Rushman actually gets about 20% of Baltimore's overall budget. And if you look at Baltimore's budget, that is about almost $70 million higher than the payroll. So if you did it actually by payroll, you can kind of do it off the top of your head there. You can see the salary there is at 32 million. So 32 of the 93. So he'd be getting close to, it would be almost like the NBA Supermax. So obviously that's quite a bit. If one player of 26 is getting almost a 30-year team salary. But I mean, you got to pay for superstars. So it's not like that's a bad move, as he's been one of the best players in baseball for a long, long time, like a Hall of Fame type career. Pretty neat. Next up, quite a significant drop off there. So we go from 19, almost 20% to 16%. Tim Osgood making about 33 million, and then you get a this is where it starts to sting a little bit. This is a kind of an expiring contract, but Nicky here is making 16%. He was traded from the Mets in a kind of a super deal to a kind of like quick rebuilding Oakland move. Riley Green, huge chunk, 27 million a year, 16% of Detroit's budget. Obviously, you're going to see guys near the top generally with the smaller budgets, but you're going to see a super contract here, $50 million per year, which is the highest in the league. But Toronto has a $320 million budget, so it's only 15% of their budget. But that's still pretty high, right? That's like eighth overall in the league of the highest percentage of the budget here. So if you want to search by overall, you can kind of see the best deals. So you see here, Ben is making less than 1% of Kansas City's overall budget, which is pretty hilarious because he's making 720K as one of the top players in the league, sorted by overalls here in the OSA's rankings. Same with Clint Turdo here, 0.36, which is funny. And then you get Adley and some superstar players here. But you can see the huge, huge discrepancy in the guys that are in pre-arb, making the minimum 720K. Juan Mendoza making less than 1% of KC. So you see the value of those guys and why KC made the World Series. You have multiple guys on this list. Dellinger here. Tampa Bay is absolutely ridiculous on this list. They have some superstar players. This is ranking by overall, so you see how many good players Tampa Bay has. Oliver here makes about 14% of their overall budget, and then Lamba is down under 5%. And then you have Joe Clark making the pre-arb deal 0.34%. And then Case Williams, Marcelo Meyer, and that doesn't really count because Dominguez is retained, but those guys are making about 12%. So interesting things you can see. So what I'll do is sort by the highest salary now. Highest salary here, you can see all these guys are pretty much over 10%, between 10 and 15%. And then you kind of got to go down pretty far here to find the best guy that's kind of lower. Jackson Merrill and a huge San Diego budget's only 8%. Carlos here, so he's making $26 million, but that's only 7% of the Mets budget, who have a massive, I think the highest budget in the league, $372 million. So you see why his percentage is a little bit lower. But yeah, just kind of interesting to me. Hope you guys enjoy.